welcome back. So today is actually a very exciting episode because I have my first guest ever. And I will say after 30 minutes of technical difficulties.
Just about.
This is what we're doing. But welcome back, everyone. I want to introduce Rocio, my good friend. We've been friends since preschool. Yeah. It's been a long time, on and off, But we've been friends for a long time. We've known each other for a long time. And I wanted to have you on to just kind of go through your life journey in a way and what you've done with what you do for work. And we'll get into all of that. But yeah, I just wanted to introduce you to everybody. And we'll get into it and we'll get into some questions.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Okay, so we've been friends for a long time. And I want to point this out because we have been friends and we've known each other, but I feel like I've seen how you've changed as well, which I talk about it on the podcast all the time. We're supposed to change, you're supposed to grow and evolve and all that good stuff, but I like how I've seen that you do what you want with your passions and your interests. And okay, so the reason I want to say I've known you for a while is because I think you were very different than who you are now. And that's going to go into the conversation of kind of not what happened, but what made you take this path and your new interest. And so for everyone listening out there, so Rocio does, and I might mispronounce this wrong, Ayurveda?
Yeah, it's Ayurveda.
Okay. And so I saw her again after high school. We kind of lost contact, and as everybody does, but I went to a holistic approach of treating my allergies, and Rocio was working there. And I was like, that is interesting, because I never saw that interest in you in school. And so I just thought that was oh my god, that's so cool. You've always had such a pure heart though, so it was easy to understand. I see her doing this. But I want to ask you, first of all, what is Ayurveda and how you came about to do that?
Yeah, so again, thanks for having me. And this is really fun. I'm excited we're doing this. And we go way back.
Preschool.
We were just talking about it right before we started recording, that we Jessie has some pictures of us holding our little diplomas, and I'm that's the cutest thing ever. So yeah, we definitely are, we've gone way back, and life is one of those things that we all change and evolve, but you're right, my change has been very drastic from this would have been not something that I ever thought I would ever get into, honestly. Okay. And so, and what is this, right? So I guess in the beginning, let's start little story time. So it all began with yoga and meditation, and I think the thing that really geared me in that direction was the fact that I was having mental health issues, and so I was going through depression and anxiety, debilitating panic attacks where I would wake up in the morning and I literally would hyperventilate. And I'm like, what is this? What's going on? And so that geared me towards meditation. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit and do nothing. What the heck is this, right? And so I started feeling better. I am what is this? And it sprouted so much curiosity of this is so helpful and it's so simple. I just need to know more. Okay. What the heck is this whole meditation doing nothing, and how did this help me?
How is it fixing me?
Yeah, exactly. I'm having all these anxiety attacks and all that. And so at the time I was, working a desk job 9 to 5, and I enjoyed it, and it was something I really loved to do, but it just didn't feel like it was my passion, my drive. Right. But this thing was sparks.
This is where I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely. And so, I ended up, I made a trip to Southeast Asia. I went to Thailand, And
I wanted to ask you about that, if Thailand had anything to do with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Besides just like traveling and just, going out into the world, like just, I mean, I grew up in the valley and I really didn't move away. I visited family in Mexico. I'm originally from Mexico, and I, you know, would, go out there, but, really left the country other than my small little town here in, Vail Valley, Colorado. No.
Yeah.
And so it was something that it was a big jump because I went by myself, but
really?
I did, yeah.
You traveled all the way by yourself?
Yeah, just by myself.
Wow,
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if I would have stayed, I'd definitely have another mental breakdown. And, I really don't know where I would be.
Okay, wait. So now we have to talk about you traveling by yourself. Okay, so you booked a trip to Thailand.
Yeah.
By yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, what made you think Thailand? Like, I want to go to Thailand. Is it just, because that's, a very, spiritual driven...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They're mostly Buddhist over there. It's, it seemed like it was the place. Planes were also cheaper.
The cheapest vacation.
Yeah.
How long did you stay there?
So I was I was in Thailand for 2 months, and then from Thailand. Yeah.
I did not know you were gone for so long.
Yeah, sorry, 1 month. 1 month. Sorry.
That's still a long time.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said I want to go to Thailand by myself. Mm-hmm. Did you intentionally want to do it by yourself, or just nobody would go?
Oh no, I wanted. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay, so by yourself a whole month.
Yeah. I needed to do some soul searching.
I love that. Yeah. I'm still searching for my soul.
I think we all are.
Wow.
Yeah.
By yourself. That I want to say I love traveling, but I'm so scared to do it by myself. I'm just scared of the world. So that's so cool. I didn't know you went by yourself.
Yeah. And you know what? I guess the first maybe 72 hours I did feel like I was by myself.
Scared and...
Yeah, just I arrived in Bangkok and I'm I took a taxi, and later I figured out I paid way too much for the taxi because I had no idea because you're paying in baht at that point. Yes. And I'm I had no idea what the exchange was, so he totally ripped me off. But whatever, that was you live and learn, right? But then I was I get to the city and it's it was way too big. It was dirty. I honestly, I didn't really like it. And
so scared.
I was just by myself. I didn't know the language. Yeah. So I ended up, I had a little travels little book that I had ordered online, and I was okay, what's some cool places around Thailand, very yogic places, because at the time I was practicing my yoga and my meditation, and I just wanted to do that.
Because when you said going to Thailand, I imagine, because this is what I would do, I would pick a resort to stay at, and you just went and you're I'll figure it out when I'm there.
Yeah, basically.
You're
I had
so brave.
Nothing was booked. I mean, I booked my room the first night in Bangkok because I'm I need to know where I'm gonna sleep the first night. But after that, it was I don't know. So I'm you know what? I saw there was a small town. It's called Chiang Mai, and I really wanted to go there, and I had to take a train there. So I ended up I don't really remember. Oh, I took a taxi to the train station, and then I bought a train ticket to Chiang Mai, and I was sitting in the train station, and I'm I'm just here by myself. A lot of Thai people around me. Nobody I could really talk to because nobody knew English or Spanish. And then I saw a woman and a man, and they were sitting there, and they looked like they speak English. So I went up to them, and I'm hi, my name's Rocio. I'm traveling. Can I stick with you guys? What are you guys, doing? Just having conversation, and to my surprise, they're going to Chiang Mai as well.
Oh.
And they're going to a fruit festival. So I'm oh, that's cool. Let's stick together. And they're yeah, they're super nice people.
Were they from?
They were German.
German? Okay.
They were German, yeah. And so I ended up, we, rode on the train together back to Chiang Mai. and they're the most beautiful, nicest people ever. And so I ended up sticking with them. We one of the girls, Yasmin, her name was, and is, and we got a little cute little hostel. Like, I was like backpacking, so I wasn't thinking resort, honestly. I was like, how can I make my money last as much as I can? Because
you're so brave to go to a different country and do it all by yourself. Did you find your soul? How did the soul searching go?
I found, like, I discovered parts of Rocio that I like needed to, and like I had just gone over like a pretty bad breakup where I thought I needed the person and I didn't really need them, the whole need aspect of, not, because I'd been in relationships like on and off through like my whole like young years. Like
as we all.
And I'm like, had I not been like, when have I been by myself, just by myself? And who am I?
If you think about it too, like we tend to date when we're in our very important years where we're growing and we're learning about ourselves. Like I talked about like marriage and relationships, and I talked about in one of the episodes how they're so hard because you're learning yourself. Like I met my husband when I was 18 going on 19, and you're still growing as a person, and that person's also growing, and so it's like, how do you guys still like each other after so many like growths and all of that stuff? So I think when you said, like you were finding parts of yourself that you hadn't, I think that's very important. And I do want to say I feel lucky where we have a lot of growth still to do, but my husband and I have able to grow and support each other in our growth and still want to be each other's persons,
And that's a beautiful thing, to be able to grow together.
Yeah. Yes.
Because, I mean,
you have to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that.
Wow, Thailand. I hear great things about Thailand, so I know I want to go eventually. I will look for a resort because I'm so scared.
I'll take you with me. Let's go.
Yes. Actually, that would not be a bad idea.
Yeah,
Let's just put that on the
calendar.
Calendars. So what is Ayurveda? Did you learn about this in Thailand or?
Yeah, no. So in Thailand, I did mostly yoga, and then I volunteered in some, they're like workaways, and so I was helping build like a meditation center. I ended up I moved to Bali. Other long story in
what an
there.
Experience.
Yeah, but in essence, Ayurveda, I came to learn about it years later. So I came back to the States, and it's so funny. I saw an ad on Instagram for a school, Maharishi International University, and they had a program in Ayurveda. And I originally wanted to go to the school, and it's in Iowa, Fairfield, Iowa. And they have a program in Ayurveda, but they also have like a sustainable living program, so students eat vegetarian meals. So it was like totally my thing, right? I was like, I want to do this, but I also have a pity. I have a pit bull, and you can't have pit bulls in Iowa. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this online. I know, I'm like, changed my whole life because I can't get a dog because of my dog. Yeah, she's my baby.
I do.
So I ended up like doing the program online, and I mean, it was honestly really hard. Like, just a lot of work, and I mean, financially it was tough. Like, I wasn't working, my husband was the one that was supporting us, and I did a little bit, here and there, like gigs, rovers, take care of dogs, and that sort of thing. But it was like, I like kept pushing it, and the thought of, crossed my mind, like, I used to make pretty good money, and now I am here like freaking broke.
See,
but like following what I love. So it's,
and that's exactly, like, I know we talked a little bit off mic about this stuff, but that's one thing I admire about you the most, because you don't, like what you said, you were making good money, but you still followed like what your heart knew it wanted and your passions. And when we were talking about, like, I love that because for a long time I felt like I'm a very creative person, and growing up, and I've talked about it in the podcast before, like loving acting and all that stuff, I felt pretty shut down from my family and even a couple of friends, that they just don't understand that part of, why do you like that, or that's weird or whatever. And I feel like I followed that. I follow like the outside opinions of others, like that's not a real job, and like that came from my dad, and so in a way, although I didn't want to listen to that, life is hard, and life was proven like I do make better money here, so I better stay here because that's society, that's what we do. We pay our bills and we have the job and whatever. And so I've always just, on social media, and I follow you for a long time and whatnot. And although we don't talk every day, I have seen how you follow what you like, and you've kind of, like you said, you did a little bit of soul searching, but you're responding to that. You're responding to those parts of Rocio that you found. And I think that's so amazing because it's so hard, especially now, to make a living out of what you truly love. Because if we're lucky, we can make good money out of what we love, but that's not typically the way it goes. So the way you do that, it motivates me because I'm like, Rocio follows her passion and follows what she loves. And I've seen how you're doing it. Like, you guys, we are sitting in this beautiful place that she has where she does a lot of her practice and stuff. And I'm just like, you're doing that. Like, that's your day-to-day life. That's your work. You don't have to go to a 9-to-5 office and, get the money that you've
I will
had.
say disclaimer. Disclaimer. I do I don't work a 9 to 5, but I also I work for a catering company, and so I cook. But part of that is also my bliss. Like,
right.
I found like being in a desk, sitting down in a computer is not what I want to do.
For you, yeah.
And it's a process. It's growth. Like, yeah, like you said, you got to be realistic. Like, I mean, I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
I have school debt that I need to pay off. Like, but at the end of the day, like, when I do this type of work, my work being, giving health consultations in Ayurveda, doing my shamanic work, or teaching a yoga class, or hosting a workshop, or even selling my products that I make at farmers markets. Yeah. Like, that whole, like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do so many different things. And, like, people ask me, so what do you do? I was like, what do I even tell you?
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, yeah. But, like, and I still need to hold, like, a, not a 9 to 5, but like here a stable job where I can have my stable income in order to do the things that I love.
Right.
And, I mean, I, like, for a while I was, like, honestly, I felt like, maybe ashamed, or like maybe I thought less of myself. Like, oh my God, Rocio, here you are, like, like you were making so much money and now you're like working as a cook. Not that there's anything bad, but you think like
felt like a step back.
It did, and it was like, I'm not. It took me a while to own like that part of myself of being like, there's nothing wrong doing this. Like, there's nothing wrong, like, if it's the thing that's putting food on your table so that you can do these
Support
other things.
the other stuff.
Because it's a process. Like, I had to go through 3 years of school. Nobody knew that I was doing Ayurveda stuff. Right. Like, nobody even knows what it is most of the time. We'll explain it in a little bit.
Yeah. Because I know a little bit, but because we've talked about certain things, but I don't know the whole thing and really what it comes to be. But I do think that's awesome that you, like you said, you had to say, there's nothing wrong if I have to do this, to do that. And we live in a world where social media puts everybody's life out there, and we have created an unrealistic idea of what success should look like, and even like make you feel shame if you are doing things like you said, like if you're a cook or whatever, because it's like, well, that's not the top of the pyramid, that whatever pyramid somebody made that we have to climb,
Yeah, exactly.
But
and I had to humble up,
Yes.
Like it's like humility is the thing that, because at the end of the day, like, nobody else is gonna pay my fucking bills.
Exactly.
Like, I gotta make myself happy, and I gotta be happy in doing what I love. And no one, like, why should I care about anybody's judgment of me?
Period.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seriously.
That's so good. I'm in a better place in my job, but everything you just said, I wasn't there yet to say I need to leave because it's not what I want. And in hindsight now, like everything worked out perfectly because I'm still with the same company, just doing different things, and it's been so much better for me, and it's allowed me to do other things in other parts of my life that I couldn't when I had that 9 to 5. But I was in the exact boat. I make so much good money here. Why would I leave it? But then is that money worth your misery? Like at the end of the day, like who cares? Yeah, my bills were getting paid, but I was not happy that I could afford getting a pay cut maybe by just doing something that I liked a little bit better. But I love that you said all that, because sometimes we need to just think, what do we want and why do we care what other people why does so and so care that this is my job? Like why does he care that I do this? But if you think about it, when you ask or you meet somebody, it's like, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And it's almost like that shouldn't be our identity. And I talked about it in an episode where what we do shouldn't be like, oh well, she's a teacher. It's just be like, I teach. Yeah. But I'm still me.
Exactly. This is something that I do. This is not who I am.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so tell us, what is Ayurveda? How, like, what is it?
Yeah. So Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word, and it translates as the science of life. And it's said to be the sister science of yoga. And so when yoga is this very spiritual practice of mind, body, spirit, yoga in this essence, it's a lifestyle. It's about living in harmony with nature. And it acknowledges that we are part of nature. We are not separate from it. The cycles of nature that happen, what we see outside of us, like, spring, summer, winter, fall, those cycles exist within us as well, in the sense that our body goes through different cycles, not just through the seasons, but throughout life. We're little, we grow, we're in our teenage years, we grow older. Like, when we're little, we got all that little baby fat, and so that's considered more of an earthier time, more of a nourishing time. We got that baby fat, we're all that nourished and stuff. But as we grow older, like, and even in, very, like, Ayurveda is so simple and it's so intuitive. As we grow older, we develop, like, our bones become thinner, our skin becomes thinner. It's more governed by more air, more lightness. And so it's this process of observing nature and acknowledging that there is harmony within and without, or inner and outer. And so when you go into an Ayurveda consultation, basically Ayurveda acknowledges that you are an individual person with your individual needs. What will work for you will not work for anybody else as far as like health recommendations. And so you get an evaluation of like, what's your mind body type, like what, like sometimes like, let's say for example, let's see, what's a good example? Having, like, let's talk about skin. Let's say my skin is a little bit more on the drier side, or you have another person who their skin is a little bit more on the reddish. They got a little reddish tone, maybe, and another person's got an oily skin. Like, I'm not going to give the same recommendation to every single person, because every person has a different skin type. And so Ayurveda is like, okay, if you have oily skin, I'm going to give you something that's going to dry your skin, something a little bit more of drying. If you got more of an inflamed skin, more reddish tones, I'm going to give you something to reduce the inflammation, something cooling. So you're working with these elements. I sometimes feel like an alchemist in the sense of like, okay, like, digestion wise as well. Like, one type of food is not going to work for everyone. or one type of diet. Like,
Okay.
that's ridiculous. And and it's one of those things that really has taught me, like, when I was doing the program, like, I learned so much about how my body worked.
Right.
I
What it likes, what it doesn't like.
Yes, and how it reacted to these different things. And I mean, granted, when you start eating in this way, like, I mean, before I started, like, I've gone through very many different, we can talk about that kind of body dysmorphia,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
always,
Another thing that social media and
yeah,
society puts
like,
on
I
us.
need to be this, like, for me, it was like, I needed to be this skinny, this much amount of muscle, and, like, it was always like that. And
Right.
I went through, like, so many roller coasters in that. But then what Ayurveda really taught me was, like, to be in my own skin and be comfortable
Right.
with that, and intake food that is going to bring me joy and
Right.
nourishment. And
Yes.
if I'm going to eat that burger, or if I'm going to eat that, those chips, because chips are my thing.
I love
chips. Like, I'm going to eat it with joy, and I'm going to eat it with happiness, and I'm not going to be guilty of what I'm eating.
After you had it.
Yeah, like, why did I do that? No, I ate it, and that's it. Like, my heart needed it. Because sometimes
you need that comfort food.
You do.
Yeah.
And
I have many. Many comfort foods.
I agree. And, and it's so interesting because, like, people can be so strict about this type of thing, especially women. Women, we're there's so many...
They mess us up.
Society. Yeah. And we're reclaiming back our feminine.
Yeah.
We are. It's the goddess time, I will say.
And
it really is.
With, like, the body stuff, too, you see it more where we don't... Even, like, models, like, the runways, they're not sticking to just your size 2 anymore. You can have a little bit of fat. Like, and I'm talking about, like, that fat. Like, not just, like, a person who's fat. The fat that your body needs, right? Because you need fat.
Because it keeps you from getting too cold.
Yes.
And, yeah.
And so, like, you're starting to see that now. And I think that is so good. We're not like, oh, well, you have to have this waist this size, and you have to, because that messes you up. I feel like growing up, especially us girls, like, you have to look a certain way. But we could have a whole other episode on, like, how they treat us females versus the males, and maybe we'll put that on our calendar
too. A couple things.
So you said, okay, so, like, you said, for example, like, I won't give somebody the exact same thing as somebody else. How do you treat some of this stuff? Like, if somebody's coming to you with, like, allergies, is that a good example?
Yeah, definitely.
So how is the treatment more, like, food-based, or is there actual medication, or, like, how does that go?
The way Ayurvedic treatment works is very holistically.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say, you talked about allergies, but I'll give you this other example. Let's say somebody comes in and has digestive issues. They, feel bloated, can't keep anything down, or maybe have constipation, can't really go to the bathroom. But then, I could recommend this, treatment, food, herbs.
Okay.
But later throughout the consultation, I find out that they, been fighting with their partner, and they've been holding on to something and a deep emotion. And so Ayurveda acknowledges that, we're not just our physical body. We have a spiritual body. We have a mental body. Right. We are not just this physical apparatus.
Okay.
Like, we have this other emotional and mental things that play into how our physiology functions.
Okay.
And so from that perspective, like, the recommendation might be something more like, you need to make peace, or you need to digest these emotions with your partner first before you're even, like, yes, we definitely give recommendations for food, but that's not the underlying cause. So Ayurveda is really about what's the underlying cause of this, and Ayurveda is not, Western medicine, right? We're not diagnosing, we're not treating anything specifically. Right. I'm treating the whole body. We are
A whole.
the wholeness. It's,
I like that. That's so interesting you say that, and I'm a big person on signs, and I'm taking this one as a sign because I've seen some videos. TikTok is like my main resource. But I saw something. I even told my sister about it. How I've been seeing these things where, like you mentioned, trauma. Like if you hold on, or not trauma, but like fighting with your partner or whatever. I've seen videos where they talk about if you hold traumas, they can actually cause even later on, but like somebody said, childhood traumas will in adulthood present themselves maybe in autoimmune stuff. And one of the examples was actually diabetes. And for any of you listening out there, I have type 1 diabetes, and it is an autoimmune stuff. And so I'm just like, wait, that just, not that it clicked on me, but it was like another like possibility for me to look at where does that come from? Why do some people get it and some don't? Because I need the evidence for everything.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so interesting. And I've seen a couple of things that talk about that, how we don't think how maybe trauma and the experiences we go through affect health. But when you think about it, it makes sense because we are the whole. We're not just like, we were giving this body and this is what's going to happen to it, and period. Like there's so many factors, environment, your experiences that you live through, and that has an effect on yourself, your everything.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I love Ayurveda so much, because it's so holistic. Like the definition, it's the science of life. It's the science of how to live a life in harmony with nature.
I like that.
I love that too.
Yeah.
It's just it's like, you know, like you were saying, like the environment plays a role. Like, you know, Colorado is a very airy environment. It's dry. It's cold. Cold.
Dark.
But then it's like, I guess it gets more sun than Florida. I don't know where I heard that once. But it's a very sunny, like, it's actually a very sunny place. But mind you, it's still cold. And a lot of the times it is, you know, like,
right.
It's not, you know, especially winter, you know. But it's, you know, so from the Ayurvedic perspective, like, living here in a cold, dry environment like Colorado, it gives you tools to say, like, okay, how am I going to counteract this? Like, a lot of our skin here is really dry.
Yeah, don't look at my hands.
Yeah, I know. So what's the opposite quality of dry? It's oily. So you'd want to bring more oily qualities into your physiology. Okay. But also, like, from the perspective, like, there's always that physical perspective, but there's also like that mental emotional part where it's like when you think of like the winter, like at least for me, like, I'm feeling a little more gloomy. Yep. I feel more depressed. I feel like, you know, maybe I don't want to go out as much. I'm more tired. Mm-hmm. And so, like, those are qualities more of like maybe some anxiety, things like that. That is more of like that quality of airness, right? So you'd want to bring that with more grounding things. So things like doing like an oil massage throughout your body. Like, it's so crazy how like doing something physical can have an effect on the mental emotional, and having it and doing something on the mental emotional level can have effect on the physical. Like, there's no separation there.
Right.
And we need to treat things as such.
Yeah.
I really wish that, like, there was more, like, talk, like, Eastern and Western medicine would talk more. Like, if someone was treated holistically that way, like, I always tell people, like, okay, if I just went and had a car accident, like, please don't take me to a holistic healer. Like, take me to the ER. Like, I need to go to the ER.
There's a good balance.
Exactly. They both have their place.
Yeah.
You know? But I think, like, for a lot of chronic diseases, it's things that, like, not that they, like, there needs to be a balance. They need to speak.
Yeah, because the Western medicine, and this is just my opinion, and a lot I think can agree, they're treating symptoms.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not so much finding the problem per se. Like, they're not asking you, where does your anxiety come from? They're like, here, take this pill. to cover up that. Where anxiety is not so much the illness, it's the symptom. You're having anxiety because of something. So what is that something? And Western medicine does not go that route. Let's just mask all these. And again, I could also have another episode of the pharmaceutical world, because being a diabetic and the insulin that I have to use, and I say I have to because to my knowledge, that's what I need, right, to survive. And there's nothing that I have found other than insulin that, that's my treatment. But these pharmaceuticals, come to find out, they're upping the price not even by like double. Yeah. They're like 700-800% more. So it's like, okay, what, I need it. And they're like, we're just making money. And so they're never really going to treat, in my opinion, a problem that's making them so much revenue. Yeah. Let's just keep them sick. Yeah. It's kind of like what I get out of a lot with my experience of the things that I have to take. And, you talked about panic. I've had panic attacks, and I didn't know they were that until I went to the hospital because I thought I was dying. Mm-hmm. And they're like, take this pill. Yeah. I did not like what the pill made me feel, and by myself, I was like, I'm going to find a different approach. And I've worked, doing therapy. Meditation, that never worked for me just because I have a hard time sitting in like quietness with my brain, and maybe that is something I need to work on.
And that's the point. It's not like, well, I will say this. There's a lot of different types of meditation, and some could be considered easier than others or whatever. But, like, the whole point, like, when I first started, like, the very, very first, like, you're right, that shit's hard. You're like, how the fuck am I supposed to quiet my mind?
Right.
Like, no.
It almost, like,
and that's the
more
point.
Anxiety.
But that's the point. And that's the point. Like, the point is that, not that it's supposed to give you more anxiety, but, like, the point of, like, the mind is meant to think. The mind's meant to think. Right. The whole point of me is not to try to quiet my minds and shut it off, because that's not going to work. Okay. Like, the whole point is it to just observe them. Literally. Ooh, I like just that. Look. Like, if I'm rambling about some random shit, like, there I go. Yeah. But, just like, let it be. Just let it be. There I am.
I like that.
And I started with, like, 30 seconds to a minute.
Oh, okay.
Seriously. Because that's all I could do.
Right.
Because after that, like, my back started hurting. I was like, there's, like, everything was going. I'm hungry. And, yeah. But then I got to the point where and this was not easy by any means. I did a 10-day silent meditation. That was crazy.
What is that?
That was a pain. That was, like, to me, it was, like, and then you realize, like, every mind is its own little world, because I remember, like, it was intense. We would meditate maybe, 6 hours a day.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, did you take breaks?
Yeah, we would take breaks. Okay. So it would be like 2-hour increments. So we'd meditate from 4 in the morning to 6 in the morning.
Wait, 2 hours just meditation?
Yeah.
Where did you do that? Thailand?
I did this in Jakarta in Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was the whole finding myself.
That is some hard work.
Yeah. It was, like, one of the hardest things I've ever done, honestly. And like, so it's so funny. So, at the end of the meditation, like, in the beginning, we all got to talk. We eating and everybody signing up. And then at the end, we can talk again. And it was, like, crazy. Like, oh, my God, I'm using my voice.
Yeah.
It was, like, but then I hear, like, okay, so I'm having this experience of, like, oh, my God, this is, like, really hard. Like, I mean, I broke through a lot of different things. Yeah. And towards the end, it was more blissful. In the beginning, I was like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
Yeah, like, holy shit.
Holy shit. Like, what?
I'm so messed up in here.
Yeah, like, seriously. And it was, like, a lot of, like, physical pain as well, just from sitting and, like, holding that position, because the type of meditation was Vipassana. And you're not allowed to move, really. Like, you're supposed to be in a steady position, and your mind's supposed to be focused on sensations from head to toe, and that's what you're doing. But then I talked to this lady, and she was a neuroscientist. And she's all over, like, she's like, yeah, I started doing brain games. And I was like, this girl was, her name, she was like the Aladdin girl, and that girl was that. And so she's like playing games in her mind to occupy that space.
Oh.
And she's having a more pleasurable experience in the beginning.
She's like, this is fun.
And I'm over here, oh my God, this is where my mind's at right now.
Yeah, that's crazy though, because it shows your journey at that time.
Yeah.
She was there just to have a good time.
But that's...
And you were there to find yourself.
Exactly.
I love that.
And each mind, it's its own, like, like, we create so many things in our minds.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
something I've learned from therapy, you are not your thoughts. Yeah. And what you just said, that you just gotta absorb your mind, just let it be, is so powerful. And I have even given this advice. Once you conquer your thoughts, your emotions, and also, like, once you separate yourself from that, you have so much power. And it's hard, but I live with, like, my heart on my sleeve. I show my emotions. I'm driven by emotion, and I've learned it doesn't do me very good a lot of the times. So in therapy, I've learned you're not your thoughts. So if you've had a thought of, you feel X amount of whatever, that's not who you are. If you had a bad thought, even about yourself, that's not who you are. That's maybe, you're having a bad day, so you feel bad. And that's just what it feels like, but it's not you.
Exactly.
So that's very powerful too. If you can conquer, in a sense, your mind, you have so much freedom.
Yeah. What you just said reminded me of something that my shamanic teacher says. So I go to an instructor. Her name's Natalie Cruz, and she does she's part of the Strawberry Moon community, and so I do my shamanic training with her. And she said something a couple classes ago where, like, imagine this man in the street drinking a beer, a bottle of tequila, crying for a woman, and, like, this deep, like, sense of sadness, and, like, just, like, and then the next day, he's, back to normal, he's doing his normal day things. Like, to be in that space of, like, deep human emotion is, like, something really beautiful. Like, to experience that sadness, to experience that, like, whatever, anger, or, like, like, we're humans, like, are we not supposed to feel anything, or just happy la la la? Like, that's not the reality of things.
And that is, I'm so glad you said that, because in my household, and I talk about it like being Latino, and I'm sure even if you're not Latino, you might have the same experiences where, at least in my household, emotions weren't talked about. Like, like you said, you're supposed to be happy. You're not, if you're having a bad time, if you're crying for whatever, like, we would almost get in trouble for crying, like, stop crying, or why are you crying? And something that now that I'm a mom, I'm like, I will never want to pass that on, because then you grow up, and I'm experiencing it, where sitting with my emotions does not feel normal, and does not feel good for me. And same thing through therapy. My therapist, and I thought she was crazy when she was like, we're going to sit with this emotion. And the emotion was very scary for me, because it was dealing with my son's hand difference and all that pain that I would feel, and that grief. I said this before, where, I said this to her. I was like, I've had people die, and you have that grief, and this grief that I was going through, no one had died around me, but it was like the worst one, I think. And so having her say, we're going to sit through that, I was like, wait, you're crazy, because you're supposed to help me, like, flip the page and not feel that. And she said, your body's telling you that pain that you're feeling, your body's trying to get attention to that. So let's focus.
And it's awesome that you say that, because, like, it needs attention.
Yeah.
Like, when we're feeling these negative emotions, like, something needs attention.
Yes.
And it's like, and sometimes, like you say, we don't want to look. because that emotion feels really bad.
It's awful. It's scary. And something she also said was, because I was like, I'm this roller coaster, right? Like some days I'm so good, and I'm like even turning the eye around, like, no, we're not gonna talk about that or whatever. But then I would have like maybe once a week this huge just like breakdown, and she's like, well, your body cranked up those signals because you've been ignoring them. And she had a good balance of like, I don't want you to sit every single day in your sadness, because that will then keep you in the depression. And so something that I took from that was like, if I'm feeling a certain amount of pain, sadness, now, and I'm 20, how old am I? 28 years old. And it has taken me that long to now be like, I am sad today, and that's okay. And I'm going to let that be. And I've almost like had my thing that I do when I'm sad. So eat my chocolate covered strawberries. And like, that's my thing, you know, like I allow it, and I'm not just like, oh, I need to fix this. Because growing up, why are you crying? I'll give you a reason to cry. Like, you're supposed to be happy, and like you said, like nothing is wrong. But being sad is not that you're wrong, or that, you know, like it's bad. It's, we're human.
Exactly. Our body, our mind is telling us something. It's like either we've been overworked, something's been going on mentally, emotionally that we need to deal with, that we need to go through. It's like, I mean, and you know, like, it's so beautiful that you mentioned that, because we find ourselves really who we are at the other side of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could tell you, I've learned, I've always considered myself a strong person, but this experience has definitely shown me that strength I thought I had was nothing compared to how strong I actually am. And just as humans, like the resilience that we have, if you allow yourself to be that, like, I have a new outlook in life, a new value in life. And I don't know if that just came from being a mom, because when you're a mom, there's so much changes in how you see the world, but also because of everything I've gone through and how I credit myself on how I got myself. I'm not going to say I'm completely out of it, and I don't think I'll ever will be, but I've gotten through that storm, and it's a lot calmer now. And I'm just like, wait, if I've been able to get through that, every other thing that I thought was like, oh my God, this is so bad, no longer is even in my radar. I'm like, that was nothing. Like, not that I'm challenging the universe, but I could really do handle some bigger stuff, and I hope I never have to. But, you know, you learn from yourself, and you're like, I got through that, and I can do so much more. And if we allow ourselves to, like you said this off mic when we were talking earlier, we are powerful. If we find that power, oh man, life is a whole new game. And it's a better one, in my opinion. Yeah.
And I love how you mentioned, like, powerful, like you said, powerful, not what I thought. Yeah. The type of powerful. Because it's one of those things to live in a place from your ego. Yeah. Of, like, oh, yeah, like, things don't affect me. Or, like, or being, like you, just ego. Yeah. But like this other growth and this other strength comes from like a space of humility, of where you dealt with some real shit. Yeah. And you're fuck, like
life humbles you.
Life humbles you. Yeah. And then that's like and I can definitely, like, when I was experiencing like these panic attacks and like how like I felt like my whole world went, you know, gave a 180 360 change, but it was like, well, I want this, but it's like, what's society telling me, like, what am I listening to? And it's like, it takes, like, for me, like I humbled down, and like, who am I, and what do I value, and like you know, maybe I'm not like in that, like, and I don't even want to go there, because it's like, it's such a fake so fake, you know? And it's like, and I always love saying this, like, I am literally in a flying rock across space, universe, and I'm like, as of now, we don't know that there's like any other life forms around us.
Mm-hmm.
There probably is. Like, I mean, how not? We don't know the vastness of the universe.
Oh,
And I'm here, am I worried about like what people think of me?
no. Of what my job is.
What my job is.
Like, our job
Yeah.
is gonna tell us what our values are.
Exactly.
Or how valuable you are
as a human.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fucking alive.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that a fucking miracle?
It is such a miracle. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the beauty of, I think, also growing and maturing, that you start to see things differently. And I think, going back to changing your careers or your jobs, I think we're also so scared because we think we have a limited amount of time. Like, the way I see it, or I used to, was like, you're in your prime time for so long. Like, that's where you're supposed to do all these things. But it's like, well, why can't I change careers when I'm 40? Who said I had to choose an identity in my job and that's what I'll do? Like,
for the rest of the life.
Like, I'm a different person. I'm different than what I was last week. I
Absolutely.
I've learned new things and I'm like, okay, I changed my mind in that. And so, like, that's the point. And so, how are you supposed to keep your same job that you had when you had those types of ideas, when you have a whole complete new, drawer of ideas and everything that you want to do? You change. But, okay, so you also do yoga.
I do, yeah.
Okay, and we were talking about, like, exercise and yoga, and I was like, I never got into yoga because it's just, like, too slow. But apparently there's all kinds of yoga.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do?
So, I mean, I do a little bit of everything. Well, okay, so, my training is in Hatha yoga, which is a form of yoga. You can also say Hatha is all yoga.
Okay.
But it really, the specific type, I will also say this. Yoga has become a very westernized form of exercise.
Okay.
When in essence, yoga is more of a mental, spiritual connection with the body practice. It's really like, and we're getting into woo-woo stuff, but
I love woo-woo stuff. I'm here for
going
it.
more into like, spiritual awakening, spiritual enlightenment. But it's something that has powerful impact physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you talk specifically about like the physical asanas, which are called like the actual physical exercises of yoga, like there's hatha yoga, there's power hot yoga, there's vinyasa, which is more flowy, there's ashtanga. So they also have different like what am I trying to say? Lineages of yoga with different teachers that teach specific types and different flows. But in essence, there's restorative, there's yin, you hold poses. You're either doing, if you look at it from a spectrum, there's yoga that's more restorative, more calming, more like slow, where you're really focused more on like relaxing and coming into a more of state of stillness, where the other yoga is more like an exercise, more of a vinyasa power flow, where it's a lot of breathing and really moving through these poses in different ways. But in essence, all of yoga, it's meant to really bring you to a connection between yourself, your breathing, and like I really like, since I told you I started with the meditation and then I started doing yoga, and like the amount of effects it had on my mental health was crazy to me. And that's what it like drew me to go take a teacher training and do these things. And later I found more of this part of myself, like just like how useful it is, and how I wanted to help other people find that through yoga, through meditation, and then now Ayurveda, which that's why like it totally made sense that that's the direction that I went, because they're so connected, you know, like. And
It
so
kind of made your full circle.
I did, yeah. And now like the shamanic work is more of like that more spiritual.
Let's talk about that, because I had never even heard that word before. So what is that? What is shamanic? Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
Shamanic?
yeah. So a shaman is basically like a medicine man, medicine woman. So you work more on the spiritual, etheric realms, and so it's something that I still consider myself a student in everything that I do because there's so much to learn, and but just in my short amount of time learning about this, it has been something that has really like even in the beginning, I feel like though, like I was always really interested in the energy part of, all these practices because so I'll tell you a story of like the first time I got a Reiki done.
Oh yeah, I've heard about Reiki, and
Yeah.
you're also my other sign. I have thought about booking a session or trying that, and my therapist actually mentioned she does some Reiki for she gets it done for herself because she clears out. She's a therapist. A lot of people dump a lot of stuff on her.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it definitely is. So what I've come to learn now is that whether it's Reiki, whether it's energy healing, whether it's some sort of other name that it may be called out there, there's energy in the universe, and there's the source energy. There's this universal field, and even like I love this because even though I'm all woo woo and stuff, I really like I always like try to find the very like what does science have to say? What is
right?
Like where is this like how can
support
I yes, where's the support? Like am I just cray cray or is this just
So you had a Reiki session?
Oh yeah. Okay, so we'll go back to that. So I had a Reiki session with a friend of mine. Shout out to Eddie. And it was like one of the most profound healing sessions I've ever had. That made me want to then become a Reiki master. So I got training in it later on. But
yay!
Yeah, because it was okay. So I was like sitting on the table or laying on the table. And if you're not familiar with Reiki, it's a energy healing session, and it's a hands-off technique. So they're not even touching you. And so then they're working through transmitting universal energy through their physical body, conduiting and transmitting to yours through specific symbols. And they're working through the energy centers of the body, meaning the chakras. And I remember I was laying there, and all of a sudden, like, I'm feeling this crazy energy in my hands. My hands were wide open, flexed. Like,
wait, without you,
he wasn't touching me.
And you just noticed your hands?
Yeah,
wide open? Huh.
Wide open. They were like flexing. Like there was like so much energy going through my body that it was just so intense. So intense. And then it was a funny thought, but I had the thought. So I was never really religious in any sense. I always thought, like, I believe that there's maybe a higher power,
right.
But then the keyword maybe.
I believe in a higher power.
Maybe.
Well, what that is, who knows?
Yeah.
But sure.
Exactly. But, and, I did come from a religious family.
Yes,
but so
I thought about your mom when you said that.
Yeah,
religion.
very much
yeah.
so. She's always like, oh, you need to. But
go to church.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
But I always told her, like, I'll find my calling, my spiritual practice when I do, like, whatever that may be. And I remember I was laying on the table, and I literally thought, I was like, if you're going to make a sandwich, like, somebody has to think of the sandwich first.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, if we're living in the society, like, there has to be a creator, some creative force. It might not be a man in the sky.
Get me going. I go into a spiral when I think about this stuff.
Seriously. Because, like, you think, like, I mean, and even we are creators.
Mm-hmm.
In order for us to, be like, oh, I'm hungry, I want to make myself a sandwich.
Right.
Like, we have to think about it first. Like, there needs to be, like, and thoughts are a very non-tangible, you can't see a thought.
Right.
You can't feel a thought. You can see it precisely. You can hear it in your head, but it's a very etheric thing.
Right.
And so to me, and like I'm sitting on the table and I'm like, okay, there has to be a creator because the sandwich
Can't be made itself. Yeah.
So and that was like, it sounds funny, but it was like, to me at the moment, it was like a very aha moment. And from there,
something
clicked.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, it wasn't like it maybe never had that thought before or whatever, but it was like a very specific feeling with a thought where I'm like, there has to be a creator. There has to be, like, whether we call it God, universe, like natural force of nature, like energy
whatever.
like whatever that is. I'm like, there is. And I felt really like they gave me such a sense of peace. But and so I had like this really profound like awakening in that session, like very, like I felt like so much was lifted off of me. I cried and I let some stuff go and all of that. And mind you,
when you said all that stuff, like I'm imagining it in my head. I'm so scared. I would love to do something like that, but I'm so scared. I'm so scared of, like you said, you cried and stuff. Again, I think it comes back to like my childhood. Don't cry. You have no reason to cry. That just like being vulnerable is so hard for me, because if you're vulnerable per se, you're weak, which makes no sense, because I think that makes you stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's so scary, your emotions.
It's very scary. And, and I will say, like, not all sessions are the same. I've gotten other Reiki sessions where it was more like I fell asleep and I had no idea what happened. So it's
I could use a nap.
I could use a nap right now. And it did, in its sense, like, any sort of energy work, it's always said that, like, whatever needs to happen, happens. Whatever needs to... like, whatever healing that you needed for your individual body, mind, spirit, is what happened.
Would you say that you have to be open for it, though?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or else it's just, like, nothing happens.
Like, thinking. And even, like, in the sense of, like, placebo.
Yeah.
Like, or no,
I'm all
or
about
nocebo.
The placebo effect.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't care. As long as it's going to work, I don't care if it's real or not. If I believe it and it works, sign me up.
There's that even more power into that. Just having that faith. Yeah. Faith is important.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. That's so nice. Okay, and so you do practice that now? I
do, yes.
Okay, how long have you been doing that?
Let's see here. I've been doing that for maybe 5-6 years now.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I did stop practicing for a little bit just because I didn't protect my energy enough, where, I did a group session once, and I got very sick afterwards because I took on a little bit too much. And then maybe you could say, oh, maybe I just randomly got sick, and maybe that could have been it. But it was just too coincidental for me. It was a very, like, drastic, like, I was in bed sweating, some body, like, it was intense.
Wow.
And so I have now learned that I have to protect myself first before I even can work, and to learn how to release, like, your therapist. And like, and there's this beautiful thing of, like, I go to other people for different things, like for energy medicine, and or
how do you protect your energy? Because I feel like whether you practice anything or not, protecting your energy is important.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I think whatever, you definitely want to choose something that feels like, first of all, you believe in it, that it works. You can do it with crystals. You can do it with imagery, like imagining like a, I can just like basic like white light around your body, like things like that. Or, having a specific like necklace. Again, I think the most important thing is that you believe it.
Yeah.
You have to believe it. And then sage also, Palo Santo smoke is really amazing to clear anything.
We talked about sage.
Sage, yes.
Off mic. And fun fact, I was telling Rocio, I didn't film an episode last week because, recorded. Well, I mean, I did, but I didn't post it. And the episode was actually, I did two. But one that I was like, okay, I'll just post this, and just didn't want to at the end, was just like a fun chit chat moment of like ghosts and stuff. And I talked a little bit in that episode just about like saging, and I told you earlier today, like I had a bad experience saging in my apartment. Things happen, long story short, things happen in the apartment that I have yet to be like, where's the common logical sense in that? They're very much head scratchers. And I tried sage because, it clears the energy and like fresh start or whatever. But it kind of got worse for me. So do you think it was like the intention maybe behind it that I needed to fix?
like if you were doing it something with like fear.
I was, because I was scared that I was gonna disturb something, and I did.
And you did.
Okay,
so yeah.
And so,
and I mean, like we are energy beings. We are powerful. Mm-hmm. And like, I always like, just because like, and if you go to an energy healer or anyone like that, like, don't think that they are any different or more powerful than you are. You are equally as powerful. Sometimes it's nice to receive and not like do the work. That's why and my teacher said this once, like it's nice to go and receive something because you're not like, you can do it. Mm-hmm. I can give myself a limpia and all these things. But it's nice to be on the table and to be like, I'm in the space of receiving. I'm not working.
Right.
And so, like, with the sage and stuff, like, everything is intention and energy. It's not of, like, you can be like, oh, I'm saging, I'm cleansing, but you feel scared.
Yeah.
While you're doing it.
Me?
Yeah. That's where it's like,
That's why my water falls into down.
Yeah. It really is about like that feeling of power, the feeling not like power, but also like intention of like, it's already done.
Okay,
it's already cleansed. It's already like it's already there. Mm-hmm. Like thinking in the present term of what things are,
almost like the manifestation thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's it, when you said that, I was like, oh, that's like clicks in my brain as the manifestation.
Yeah. And you also want to, like, if you're saging your home, you want to open up all the windows.
I did that.
And you want to move the energy from the farthest or the most inward part of the house to the outward. So you want to move the energy from the deepest part of the house and move it out the door.
Okay, definitely did it wrong because I started backwards. I might revisit that.
Yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. We'll see. Or I might just have you do it. Because I might be scared still. Okay, what else did I have for you? Self-growth is our last. I know we're about a little past an hour. We could literally go on forever.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I love good conversation, and, I don't remember if I said this at the beginning, but you are the first guest. Oh. And it feels so good to have that like flowy conversation, because when I'm by myself, it's harder because I don't have anyone responding, reacting, and it's hard to keep it flowing. And then I told you, like, the baby and a lot of distractions. So for me right now, I'm like on my highest level of this is so fun, and we could go on forever because I love all this stuff. I love, like you said, there's so much to it, and some people may think like that's crazy or whatever, but if it makes sense to you and you believe it, why not? And I love just to learn other stuff. And why are we going to allow one mainstream of information be the correct one? Who said that was the only way,
Exactly. It's always nice to, like, have all these streams of information or ideas or beliefs, and then, like, we get to pick what we decide. Like, I picked this.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, this resonated. It may not resonate with you, but that's totally okay. Something else will.
It may resonate in a later time in your life.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of it, and that's what I'm learning. Again, I don't know if it's just growing up or whatever, but yeah, you just find what works for you, and if it resonates with you at that time, great. It doesn't mean that's the one thing you choose forever. If later on, for example, like you talked about religion, I also grew up Catholic, and I would go to church here and there, but we did the whole like First Communion and all of that stuff, and I'm not one to be like, I have to go to church, or like there's a man with the white beard up in who knows heaven or whatever. Like, I don't believe that anymore, and that's okay. And then maybe if later I decide like, no, maybe that is actually what it is, and I do want to go to church, that's fine too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it's there. We I feel like and this is my opinion, right? I feel like we focus so much on our separations, our differences,
Yeah.
when we should be focusing on what makes us the same, what makes us similar,
Right.
what connects us, more importantly. Because all these religions, they have the same essence.
Yeah.
Be good to people, respect others.
There's somebody
like,
higher out.
there is,
Yeah.
yes, like there's this energy outside of us that is powerful. And like, I'd like to argue it's within us.
Yeah.
We are that powerful energy, because we are a manifestation in our physical bodies of that. Like, it's, and
you're making me just want to like take my power back. I feel like it's somewhere in the house chilling or something, and I'm like, yo, wake up. Let's go.
Yes.
We got things to do in this life.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And sometimes doing nothing is the thing we need to do.
For a little bit. Yeah.
Seriously.
Sometimes I'm like, you know what? Today is that day.
Yeah.
And then the next day I'm like, I feel recharged. And I'm like, okay, what I didn't do, now I can do it, and even in a better headspace.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not saying like you guys need therapy, because but therapy is what opened up a lot of that for me. But it was also the type of therapist, because I have gone through so many therapists, and a lot of them are very by the textbook. And this one, I've worked with her for almost 2 years now, and she's a good balance of the spiritual part of things, the energy part of things, and then she's also has evidence-based support that she knows she needs to give me, because that's how my brain works. And because of her, I've been so open to like, who's to say what life is or what it's not, you know? Like you said, we're here on a floating rock. Come on now. But have at least an open mind to not believe right off the bat, but question things. Ask questions, challenge your beliefs, and what resonates with you, great. What doesn't, okay, move on. Yeah. Go on with your day. Okay, so to close this off in a way, how do you think, because we talked a lot about like the self-growth that I've seen, just like, you know, I'm sure you can also say like you are different from high school, which I would hope so.
Right?
But I don't think I've changed so much like you did, because you really did like a whole 360 of, yo, this is not what my life needs to be.
I would argue.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say, like, I mean, I don't know. I also want to say this first. Like, I feel like you're always such a sweet person. Like, you're so, like, I don't know. Like, you've always been so good to me. Like, you've been, like, I don't know, like, a person. Stop. Now we're just, you know, giving each other out. Giving love, sharing love. But seriously, like, and, you know, like, I don't know, maybe.
That means so much coming from you, because I told you, you have the purest heart. Or I feel like from forever, you've been such a sweet person. Like, you're always just there to help people or offer yourself, and you've always had that. So I do see that in you still throughout. But like everything that you've just come to be, I'm like, good for you, because we talked about it. It's hard with society, and you know, and growing up in this town too, like it's so small, and there's not much room for other things to come in and influence, you know, or challenge your
it's
ideas.
not a big city with a lot of different you know, energies and ideas and all that. And but you know, I will say, like, as far as like just knowing you and like just the recent changes that you've been going through with your son, and like just like talking to you now, I'm not talking to the same Jessica I was when we were partying in Denver.
Thank you. That was so fun though.
It was so fun.
Oh man.
But seriously, like
you.
like, I don't know.
That means
it's
a
just,
lot.
Yeah.
We're here to grow and evolve and learn, and if you have a smooth sailing life, good for you.
Yeah.
But I don't know who is always gonna have that smooth sailing life. Life is hard, and there's not a end goal of once I do these things, then I'm happy. And that's something I've had to learn. And again, it took me 20 plus years to be like, oh, okay, so having that amount of paycheck does not make me happy. Okay, so maybe this will. And then I do that, and I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't either. And so having so many years of that, you have to do and be true to yourself. And I think that's why I've come back to even starting the podcast. It's a creative
and this is so
outlet.
cool.
Yeah.
This is so cool that you're doing it.
Yes.
Because, like, it just speaks, I feel like, to your soul.
Yeah.
And, like, I remember, so, another little story.
Yes. We love stories.
So when we were, so I was out of high school at this point, and I was going to school in Denver, and I thought I was wanting to go to business school, so I was doing business.
I did that too for a little bit, and I switched it.
Yeah. And see, that's okay, people.
Yes.
But
not okay for your bank account, but it's okay.
Yeah, but money comes and goes.
Yes, it does.
But so it was funny, like, I remember I had a marketing class, and I was going to do a video about makeup. It was like a makeup commercial.
I know what you're going to talk about. Okay.
Yeah, so this is where it's like, you've always been the creative person. Yeah. And I'm like, who did I go to when I was like, hey, like, I need somebody, like, that can star in my video and, like, be the person that is, it was a marketing video for a makeup line that I was like, I don't, and it was in Spanish and in English. I don't remember, or just in Spanish. But yeah, I remember it was like super, like, okay, no experience whatsoever, shitty audio, but it was great.
Sound like a low budget.
Very much low budget.
That is so funny.
And I was recording you, and you were coming down some stairs, and it's like, oh my god, we literally have to link that video.
Do you have it?
I think I do.
You need to find it.
It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube somewhere.
That's embarrassing. I want to see it. That is so funny because the other side of it, I had just started dating my husband now. And later, like years later, he was like, because I was doing a lot of the acting because I was finally like being more independent and growing, and like, I don't care if my dad thinks a bank teller job is the job for me. Like, I would never want to do that, and I never did. But I did other stuff. But I was like, you know what? If I like this and that keeps me going and happy, I'm going to do it. And I did, like, some things in Denver for acting. I think you even went, remember
I went
one time?
once, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's another story. But I remember funny to that, I think my husband thought I was, like, a professional, like, paying actress. Because I was like, I've got a gig to get to. And I was like, I would treat everything like really, no matter if it was like low budget, high budget, whatever, because I've done things like I've done PSA, public service announcements that were full camera crew. I've done fashion shows where somewhat of a makeup person is there, but like for the most part, like you're there doing a lot of it, so I've done things that have more of a production, and every single one of them, I would treat them like a gig because I'm like, if this is what I want, this is the experience I need to have, and I need to treat everything as is so that I have the practice. And so my husband for a while, he's like, he went to one of like my fashion shows I had in Denver. And I say fashion, I'm so proud of that because I'm so short, but I was still, again, we're moving in a different direction. You don't have to be 6 feet tall. But I was like, yeah, I'm busy that day. I've got a gig to get to. And so for a while, I was doing the Denver stuff and everything. He was like, damn, I thought, like, not that he was disappointed, but he's like, I really thought, like, she's like, that's her work, like, she does all these things because I was doing things. Like, he would drop me off at, I did a lot in the Valley here, a lot of, like, free modeling, per se, for, like, new photographers. So a lot of that stuff, and I love that stuff that I, no matter if you're going to give me a penny, $5,000, whatever, I was like, it's a gig. Mm-hmm. I got to go model for this dress. I'm busy. And so he was like, damn, that's her job. Like, that's what she does. And slowly it died down because, life got crazy and then you pay bills. But he confessed that to me, like, years back. He was like, I really thought, like, that's just what you do when you had, like, your other, I worked at a gas station when I met him. It's like, that was just, like, your income source, but like this is what you do. Like, yeah, I got a gig.
I have to do that job so I can do my bliss.
Yeah. That's crazy that you have that. Like, we're gonna have to search it up on YouTube and see how. I'm embarrassed just thinking about it because I don't remember a lot of it.
It's like the shit audio, like so bad. It was like so windy that day.
You know what I also found? In acting world, you have a damn, I don't even remember what it's called, like a reel per se, and I had both a comedy one and a drama one. I cringe at those videos so hard, and they were filmed in Denver, in like this house that was rented out for us to have these scenes, and you're acting with other people. And I saw a while back, I saw the videos, I found them, I was cringing the whole time. I was like, I did this. But you know what? If I do that again, they're gonna look better. And full circle again, you're growing and evolving. But that's amazing. I totally forgot about that one.
So I'm excited to like. So this is the first couple of episodes. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to how this podcast is gonna evolve in the future.
My sister is so nice. She's my biggest cheerleader. Shout out to you, Steffi. And I told you, even if it's just one person listening, it's probably my sister. But she's the biggest cheerleader, and she's always just been like, I see this being something. And I'm like, at this point, I'm just going to do it for me, because I do a lot of things with the intent that it needs to be successful or it's not worth it. And I've loved the few episodes that I've recorded. I love how I feel afterwards. I'm like, this is so fun. It's my reset. If one person is listening to it, who cares? Like, I'm not going to put that intent anymore, because I think that's when I work myself out of things where I'm like, it's not hitting the mark like I wanted it to. So I'm move on to the next thing, and it shouldn't be that way.
And when it's love, it's love.
And it's been so fun. I love that you're the first guest. We have such good convo. I'm all about connecting and having even one person relate to us, and because it's scary to voice things and whatnot, but once we do, then it feels less lonely. Yeah. So what advice would you have to anyone trying to find their soul searching, trying to just, even like in self-growth, and maybe they don't know where to start? What is one piece of advice that you would give somebody?
Yeah, well, I will say, like, I'm still searching for my soul.
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever stop.
No, and it's a lifelong journey. But if you're feeling you're in a space where you just, I don't know, I would say, like, trying something new. Like, it's like doing something that you don't think is possible, and going beyond that fear. Like, for me, it was literally leaving the country by myself. That was drastic, because that's what I needed. Yeah. Like, I needed a drastic change. And sometimes, like, a drastic change is what we need to find who we are.
Yeah.
And, like, it's scary. Like, it's no joke, you know? But, like, you know, and, like, I do still find myself at times, and I'm like, what am I doing? Am I, like, it's still part of it, you know?
The self-doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, I remind myself, I'm like, okay, like, one day at a time, you know? And you're not alone, you know? Like, you really are not alone. We're never alone. No. And, you know, like, don't listen to anybody else's, like, ideas of what you should be doing. Like, ask yourself, what the fuck do I want? I'm sorry, I'm cussing a lot. But no, I'm not sorry. It's just how I talk.
We do it here. We do it here anyways.
Yeah.
Something to that is, and I've mentioned this before, I think it's a good 3 years where, like you're saying, ask yourself. I live my life now where I ask my, manifesting that I'll live until, like, I'm 80-something. I ask that person in my last of days or whatever, did I have any regrets? Will Jessica in that time regret me not going for it? Will she have something to say because I let anxiety win this time? And so I live my life like that, and it almost is like, so, it sounds so easy and simple, silly even, But truly, because of that, I push myself to do things that I would never, because I'm like, I don't want to later be like, oh, why didn't I do that? I really wanted to, and I let so and so affect it or whatever. And that's, in a way, I think if we were to do that, all of us, and not worry about like people are gonna say, the judgment that comes from it, society, whatever. You have one life. At the excuse me, at the end of the day, nothing matters. And this is gonna sound harsh, but we're all gonna die.
Oh yeah.
Nothing's gonna matter. You're gonna die. You're not gonna be here anymore. So who cares what Susie had to say about your shoes and you expressing yourself or whatever? You know, like, it's so simple, but I know it's hard. It's hard to take that initiative.
Absolutely, yeah. I love that you said that. I love that.
Because, right? It makes sense, at least to me.
Yeah, and to see yourself as your older self, like, because, like...
Yeah.
Like, who else would know yourself more than them? You know, the more than you. Like, asking them, like...
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, how will I be okay with this?
Right. Yeah, am I gonna, you know... Because it's so easy to say... I want to do all these things in my life, but then to actually do them, and when even the opportunities present themselves, it's scary to do things that are out of your norm. And are you going to regret that?
Yeah.
Most of the time you are. If you're already questioning, you probably are going to regret it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it was so nice to have you.
Nice to be here too.
So we're going to post a picture and we're going to have it on the podcast, Dear_podcast. But also, you have a lot of stuff too going on. Maybe we can do like even a part 2. We'll see how it goes. Because we didn't get to like you selling all your stuff. You have all this holistic stuff, which... What is your Instagram, all that good stuff, where everybody can find them and learn even more, because I know you have an Instagram page, learn about what you do, your yoga, your everything, and then the products that you sell.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so if you are interested in buying some of my products or just kind of learning a little bit more about me and what I do, my website is Gula Wellness, GULA wellness.com, and Gula is an ancient goddess of healing and medicine. Ooh. So really power to the goddess within all of us. That's my thing. Really empowering the feminine. And so if you're interested in that, I also teach yoga around the valley, different places. Just follow my Instagram, gulawellness.com, or just Gula Wellness, sorry, not .com. Just Gula Wellness. And then you can find my personal page there. I post some of my stuff there. And then I also, I rent a space at Alpenglow Holistic. I'm part of the collective there. And so this is where we're actually recording the podcast. And so I do energy work. I offer Reiki and shamanic flower cleanses, as well as Ayurveda consultations. But if you ever just want to talk about this stuff, I'm like, I just love talking about it and just... You know, it's my bliss. So, yeah.
So maybe we'll I have all these ideas now flowing. And for a while I wanted to have the podcast be video too, but we have to figure out all of that. We couldn't even figure out the 2 mics.
Technical difficulty.
I know. So we'll see, but maybe we could do a part 2 of kind of everything that goes on in your world and how it works. And I think it'd be very interesting to see. So maybe we can move into like a video stuff.
Yes.
We'll see. But yeah, and one thing I do in the podcast, if you're returning, you know, I have a jar of motivational stuff and I forgot it. But my work gave me a jar of motivational, they're folded papers and stars, and there's a motivational thing. Ooh, Rocio has something for us. I was going to say, I forgot to bring them, and so I don't have a motivational thing. Ooh, cards.
I'm just going to pull a card
and
see what the cards say.
Okay, you guys are getting a special treatment on this one. I'm excited. I have actually seen lots and lots of videos of oracle cards. One of my coworkers bought a pack too, and she takes it to work. I don't see her much anymore, but we would pull cards all day long at work.
All right, pull 1, 2, or 3, whatever your heart desires.
I'm gonna do 2. Do I do it at the same time? Like, what? And then this one.
Oh, I love
that.
Okay, so we pulled the "What do you feel" card, and then we'll take a picture of these so you guys can see them.
Yes.
And conscious connections.
Ooh, creepy. That ties to everything we talked about.
It's like,
oh man, I love that. Okay, we're just looking a more in-depth message of the cards.
So we'll just read a little bit.
Yes.
There are many options around you. Some are helpful, but others are distracting you from your truth. Although it can be helpful to hear the thoughts of others, when it comes down to it, you will have to come to your own decision. Do you know how unique you are? How your path is your path to be chosen, lived, and created only by you. Someone else cannot become the source of your decision-making power without negative repercussions for both of you in the long run. Be who you are.
I have chills. Did we just not talk about all that stuff?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's amazing. You see, be who you are. Don't let others' judgment influence the things you want to do. That's so good. Okay, and then the next one is the conscious connections.
And I think this is just, okay. This is a call for more intimacy in your immediate relationships.
Ooh.
There's an opening for the heart-to-heart communication that can salvage and restore a broken friendship or relationship if you're willing to honor your differences and look to what unites you. Sometimes it is hard to bear the differences between one another. One person may be willing to live life in high definitions, while another may live more vicariously.
You talked about connection.
Yeah,
you talked about
and I think that
the differences.
Yeah, and that we are really more connected than we are different. Conscious connections.
That. Well, there you go. You guys got a much better than a motivational sticker paper.
Just as good.
But anyways, again, if you're returning, thank you so much for rejoining us. And I hope you like this one, a little bit more different type of podcast. The next one will also have another guest, so stay tuned for that one. But again, you can find Rocio on Instagram, Gula Wellness. We'll have a picture with all of the info too, so don't worry. You can find it there too. Podcast. Instagram is dear_podcast. But thank you so much again. I love having conversations with you. And we'll see everybody else in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.